Welcome back to another classics album, and we are diving into some Christmas albums here. I love Christmas music, and I'm glad that the whole Spotify Wrap thing happens at the end of November rather than in December, because my entire feed for the Spotify Wrap would just be full of Christmas music. So I'm kind of glad that they've did that. Also, you'll notice that my camera is a little bit on an angle. Same thing as last year. The Christmas tree is in the middle of the living room, so that's usually where I put my camera. It's kind of there, so I've got it literally just a couple feet to the left there. So that's kind of why I'm on a little bit of an angle on this sense. So yeah, diving into some Christmas music. So this week and next week, I'm going to cover two of my favorite Christmas tracks, Christmas albums, and I figured I'd keep it in the vein of prog because this is why you guys come to my channel. You know, you come here because I love prog, you love prog, so we're going to keep it pretty proggy. And the first one that we're going to be diving into is Christmas Variations by Rick Wakeman. So Rick Wakeman is not a stranger to the Christmas music, shall we say. I mean, he had put out one just as recently as 2019, which was Christmas Portraits. And, you know, it's Rick Wakeman, you know, lead keyboardist for a lot of the seminal years of Yes, you know, coming on in Fragile, staying with the band, leaving the band, staying with the band, leaving the band. But yeah, he was kind of like one of the staple keyboardists for Yes. And to say he has a full-bodied discography, to say that he has a plethora of releases would be putting it as an understatement. I mean, outside of maybe Frank Zappa or Buckethead, I can't name somebody off the top of my head who has as much of a robust release schedule or release output as Rick Wakeman does. I mean, he has a full concert for a dog. The Oscar concert back in 2003. So yeah, my man has a lot of releases. The one I wanted to talk about was actually the one that he released back in 2020. Rick Wakeman put out two brilliant albums back in 2020. The first one being The Red Planet, which ended up being one of my absolute favorite albums from that year. But the other one being Christmas Variations. And the thing that I particularly love about this album is the concept of it isn't necessarily just a retread of the Christmas music that we all know and love. Even though, you know, it is Christmas music from album like tracks that we know and love, you know, Silent Night, Away in a Manger, Hark the Herald Angel Sings, O Little Town of Bethlehem, O Come All Ye Faithful, Amazing Grace. I mean, we all know these tracks. We all know and love these tracks. What I particularly love about this album is that it's not just these tracks. I mean, it goes right in with the album title itself, Christmas Variations. It's very much a variation on a theme. It's a theme that we know and love, variations of it. So like when you're listening to these tracks, you can tell like the root of these tracks are what the title is. Like these are Away in a Manger. These are Silent Night. These are Hark the Herald Angel Sings. But it's how Rick plays with them that I particularly love. You know, and Rick isn't a stranger to putting his own flair on a classical piece. He's not a stranger of adding a bunch of notes. But it's where he does it, you know. You can hear the root of these tracks within the playing styles that Rick is putting down. But it's how he gets there. It's how he's able to weave in this other style in the pure Rick Wakeman fashion that I just gush over and that I love. The other thing that I also really, really enjoy and the ones that I like are some of the smaller tracks on here, like some of the tracks that I don't hear all that often. Christians awake, salute the happy man. White shepherds watch their flocks by night. Once in a royal David city, and angels from the realms of glory. These tracks you don't hear very often, and a lot of them are more traditional English hymns that are sung around the Christmas time. And it's good to hear these guys get the breath of fresh air and the breath of light that normally they probably wouldn't be hearing of. You know, and I really love what Rick Wakeman is doing in a lot of these tracks as well. I love the flares that he puts on. to keep it interesting, to keep the listener kind of engaged and interested and paying attention. Like, ooh, where's he going to go with this one? It reminds me of what a lot of jazz performers would do with a very well-known piece. It's how they kind of come around the main themes. It's how they change it, how they alter it a little bit. And I also love some of the tracks that I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe he has as whole new arrangements and whole new pieces. Like I believe Silent Prayer is one that he has composed himself. Like I haven't heard this one before. So even here we have some new music on the forefront and some new music on here. And of course it's all instrumental. It's got that flavor and that flair that Rick Wakeman brings to the table, and it embodies what I love about Christmas. It's the light in the darkness. It's that bright joy in the darkest time of the year. It's got all these really like heavenly inside cozy nook and looking out at a very cold landscape. And I think Rick Wakeman does a brilliant and beautiful job at doing this. And it's a shame that I didn't hear this until last year. And it wasn't until after the Christmas season that I was able to listen to it, and I just fell in love with it. So yeah, if you have a chance, take a listen to Christmas Variations from Rick Wakeman. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. If you're a fan of Rick Wakeman, if you're a fan of progressive rock, and if you're a fan of Christmas music, you are going to have a blast with this album, as I did. Even though this album's about 2 years old at this point, I still kind of consider it a little bit of a classic, so I'm not going to rate it as I do most of these classic album reviews, but I still wanted to at least mention it and talk about it because yeah, it's a great album. Absolutely a great album. But that's what I've got. Have a listen to it. It's one of my favorites. It's been on repeat this year. It's along with like the Lindsey Sterling, the Michael Bublé, the Bare Naked Ladies, the Kelly Clarkson, and most recently the Backstreet Boys. It's been on my pretty heavy rotation of Christmas music that I've been listening to this year. So yeah, I hope you check it out. I think you'll have a good time with it. And that's all I've got for Christmas Variations by Rick Wakeman. What did you guys think about this album? Have you listened to it? If you have, let me know if you loved it or if you hated it by commenting down below. That's all I've got for you guys today. That's all I've got. Yeah, so just as a little programming heads up, next week I've got my same thing. I've got 3 reviews coming up: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think Tuesday is actually going to be a quarter notes for wrapping up some of the year, tackling some albums that I haven't talked about yet. And then we've got next Thursday, I've got my other classic album. This time we're tackling a quintessential Christmas listen. So hope you guys will tune in for that one. And then this Friday and next Friday, we're starting to see some year-end lists, the top 10, top 20 best records. And I've already recorded a bunch, but I didn't know most of the albums, especially in the metal scene. So yeah, we're going to hope that we can find ones that I know more instead of me just scrolling through being like, I have no idea what these guys are. But then week after that, the last weekend of December is going to be my list week. And I'm pretty excited for this year. I've got my top 20. I'm going to do a top 20 list of albums this year. The top, from album 20 to about 11, I'm just going to quickly blow through those guys and then talk a little bit more in depth for my top 10. I've got my most surprising albums and my most disappointing albums coming out on the Wednesday. And then on Friday, I'm going to do a PROG Awards. This will be the first time I'm doing it. I've been thinking about doing it for a while now. Each year I'm like, I should probably do that. And all of the categories are being mentioned by you. So if you have an idea for what category you would like me to feature on my PROG review, leave it down below. And if you get it in on time, I will be getting an album that fits the bill for that. So yeah, there you go. That's all I've got for you guys today. That's all I've got. So stay tuned. I got a lot of stuff in the works in this Christmas season. So I'll end this review with, thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.